At first, nothing happens. That's the first mistake people make when they enter the yellow levels for the first time. They expect an immediate reaction, an alarm, a sound, something obvious. But the system doesn't react like an alarm. It reacts like an observer. You keep walking down the corridor, trying to convince yourself it was nothing, just a line on the floor, just old paint on dirty carpet. But the environment begins to behave slightly differently. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights drops lower, then louder again, like the electricity in the building is being redirected somewhere else. You look down at the floor again. The arrows. One of them looks different now, smeared, as if the paint had been dragged, or as if the arrow had never really been there in the first place. That's the first thing you learn at this level. The markings in the yellow levels aren't just directions. Some of them are warnings, some of them are traps. And some of them exist for one reason only, to see if you'll obey. Your responsibility now is simple. Keep moving. Stopping in the yellow levels is almost always worse than moving forward. You quickly realize the system prefers participants who keep walking, people who explore, people who make decisions, because decisions create data, and data creates observation. You don't gain power at this level. What you gain is awareness. The awareness that something here is tracking every step you take. But there's something you lose too. Just a few minutes ago, you could still believe you were simply lost. Now it starts to feel like you may have stepped into something else entirely. Something structured, something watching. The risk at this stage still feels small. No doors slam shut, no corridors rearrange themselves, no entities appear. But there's one detail you can't ignore. When you look back down the hallway, the yellow line you crossed is gone. And the only way to move forward in a system like this is to keep walking. Even when you know every step is now being logged somewhere, a few corridors later, you notice something that definitely wasn't there before. A mark on the wall. It's not industrial paint like the arrows on the floor. This one looks improvised, messy. Someone wrote it by hand. You move closer, slowly, like simply reading it might trigger something. The message is shaky, rushed, almost desperate. The arrows are not safe. For a moment, you just stand there staring at it, because that changes everything. Up until now, the markings on the floor looked like guidance, some kind of system meant to help people find safe paths through the yellow levels. But if someone took the time to write that warning, it means someone else has already been here, someone who figured something out. That's the second thing you learn inside this system. You're not the first participant, and you're probably not the last. You keep moving, but now your attention shifts. Details that felt meaningless before suddenly matter. Small stains on the wall, strange marks in the carpet, objects that don't belong. A few meters ahead, you find the first real sign of another person. A backpack, left in the corner of the corridor. The zipper is half open. Inside, there's a dead flashlight and a folded piece of paper. You pick it up. The paper contains just one sentence. If you see 3 arrows, turn back. Your stomach tightens, because 3 arrows are exactly what you followed when you crossed that line earlier. That's what this level teaches you. The yellow levels don't eliminate participants immediately. They observe, they record, they allow you to move a little further, as if they want to see how long it takes before you realize the mistake you made. What you gain here is information, proof that someone else tried to understand the rules before you. But something is taken from you too. Until now, you could still pretend this place was just strange. Now you're starting to suspect something worse. Maybe there's a structure, maybe there's a purpose, and maybe crossing that line pushed you into a different layer of the system. The risk grows, because the more you understand, the more it feels like turning back may no longer be an option, and the only way to move to the next stage is to do the one thing every warning tells you not to do. Ignore it and keep walking. After a while, the yellow levels start to feel different, not visually. The corridors still look the same. Yellowed walls, stained carpet, fluorescent lights humming overhead. But something has changed. The sound, the buzzing from the lights, disappears, and the human brain is incredibly good at noticing when a constant noise suddenly stops. You slow your steps, Something in your instincts tells you to listen, and that's when you hear it. Footsteps, faint, echoing somewhere behind you. You stop. The footsteps stop too. For a few seconds, you stand perfectly still in the middle of the corridor, trying to convince yourself it was just an echo. The yellow levels are full of strange acoustics, but when you start walking again, the footsteps return. That's the third thing you learn about this place. Not every presence in the yellow levels is another participant. You slowly turn around. The hallway behind you looks empty, long, silent. But for a split second, less than a blink, something appears at the far end of the corridor. A silhouette, tall, completely still, and then it's gone. When you look again, the corridor's empty. No movement, no sound, nothing, but your mind keeps replaying what you just saw, because whatever that shape was, it wasn't wandering. It was standing there, watching, and that thought begins to rearrange everything you believed about this place. The backpack, the warnings, the messages on the walls. Maybe the people who left those notes weren't trying to escape the yellow levels. Maybe they were trying to escape whatever lives inside them. At this level, you don't gain control. You gain awareness. Awareness that the system isn't just an environment. It has inhabitants, and breaking a rule might have moved you into their territory. What you lose now is psychological safety. A few minutes ago, you could still believe you were alone. Now you know that's not true. And the risk increases dramatically, because the thing you saw at the end of that hallway didn't look lost. It looked like it had been waiting for you to notice it first. To move forward in a place like this, there's really only one option. Don't run. Don't look back again. Just keep walking, as if you never saw anything at all. Because in the yellow levels, some things seem to react the moment they realize they've been noticed. After that brief glimpse of the silhouette, you start walking faster, not running. Running in the yellow levels almost always leads to bad decisions, but not slowly either. There's a strange balance here. Move enough to look natural, but not enough to look desperate. A few corridors later, you notice something that clearly doesn't belong in this place. A table, pushed against the wall. Furniture is rare in the yellow levels, which makes the object feel almost artificial inside the endless stretch of yellow walls and empty hallways. On top of the table sits an old terminal, a small monitor, dark, dead. For a moment, you consider ignoring it and continuing down the corridor, but curiosity is exactly the kind of behavior the system seems designed to provoke. You step closer. The moment you get near the terminal, the screen turns on by itself. A sharp electrical crack echoes through the hallway. Lines of text begin appearing on the screen. There's no friendly interface, no icons, no instructions, just raw log entries. Cold, precise, impersonal. 2 lines appear first, participant detected, then another line, rule violation logged. You stare at the screen for a few seconds, because that single message changes how you understand this entire place. Until now, the yellow levels felt like an endless maze, a strange space where people accidentally wander in and try to find their way out. But this terminal suggests something very different. There's a system, a monitoring process, a record of behavior, which means every decision you make inside this place isn't just a mistake or a discovery. It's data. That's the lesson at this level. You're not just exploring the yellow levels, you're being observed inside them. And the system appears especially interested in one thing: errors. You don't gain any advantage by finding the terminal. No hidden door opens, no map appears, but you gain something far more important. Context. Enough context to realize that crossing that line earlier wasn't just an accident. It was an event that now exists somewhere in this system's records. What you lose here is something deeper. Until this moment, you could still believe that maybe, somehow, there was a random way out of this place. Now it feels more likely that there isn't an exit until the system decides you're done participating. The risk shifts again. Because when systems monitor human behavior, they usually do it to test it. And just as that thought crosses your mind, the terminal screen changes. A new line appears. Observer connected. And for the first time since entering the yellow levels, you get the unmistakable feeling that something or someone has just started watching you directly. You're still staring at the terminal when the light above you flickers again. This time it isn't random, it's a pattern. On, off, like something inside the electrical system of the yellow levels is being rerouted. The screen on the terminal suddenly goes dark. The corridor falls silent again. For a few seconds, it almost feels like everything is over, like maybe the system finished logging whatever it needed from you. But when you step away from the table and look ahead, you immediately notice something impossible. The corridor in front of you is different. Before, it ran straight. Now there's a door that definitely wasn't there before. That's the first clear sign that the yellow levels aren't just a static environment. They're dynamic. They reorganize themselves. They open paths, they remove others, and the changes seem to depend on what the participant does. You approach the door slowly. There's no handle, just a rusted metal plate fixed to the center. Engraved into the metal is a single word: access. That word changes the way you think about the rules. Up until now, the rules felt like warnings, boundaries meant to prevent mistakes. But this suggests something else entirely. Rules might also be filters. People who follow them stay in endless, empty corridors. But people who break one get pushed somewhere deeper, somewhere more controlled, somewhere more interesting. You don't gain control here, but you gain something close to permission. Permission to move into parts of the system other participants might never reach. But there's something you lose in exchange: the illusion that this place is random. Up until now, the corridors could still be dismissed as chaos. Now it feels deliberate, designed, managed, observed. The risk changes again. Before, you were simply lost in a strange place. Now it feels like you're moving deeper into a structure that is actively responding to you. And systems that respond to human behavior usually do so for a reason. Just as you're trying to decide whether opening that door is a good idea, you hear something behind you. Footsteps. Much closer this time. Slowly, you turn around. At the far end of the corridor, near the terminal, the silhouette is back, but now it's not as far away as it was before. It doesn't move, it just stands there, as if it's waiting to see what choice you make next. The silhouette doesn't move, it just stands there at the end of the hallway, perfectly still. In the yellow levels, movement usually means danger, but sometimes, stillness means something worse. You slowly turn your attention back to the door. The metal plate still reads one word: access. For a moment, you consider ignoring it. Maybe the safer choice is to keep walking down the corridors, to pretend this place is still just a strange maze, just endless hallways where people accidentally wander too far and get lost. But then you remember the terminal. Rule violation logged. The system already recorded your mistake, and systems rarely log events without doing something with that information. You push the door. It opens without resistance. Inside is a small room. Different from anything you've seen so far in the yellow levels. The walls are still the same faded yellow. But here, there are objects. A metal desk, old monitors stacked on top of each other, loose cables scattered across the floor. And on the walls, there are markings. Not warnings like the messages you found earlier. These are diagrams, arrows, hand-drawn connections between corridors. Someone spent a long time in this room trying to understand the system. You walk closer to the largest diagram. At first, it looks like a map, but the longer you stare at it, the stranger it becomes. The arrows don't represent directions. They represent choices, paths branching depending on what someone decides to do, almost like a flowchart. At the center of the drawing, one sentence has been circled over and over again. It's not a maze. You stare at those words, because if this isn't a maze, then every corridor exists for a reason. Every door, every symbol, every arrow painted on the floor, all of it exists to provoke decisions. That's what you learn at this level. The yellow levels aren't a place where people get lost. They're a system where people are tested. You still don't know who built it. You don't know who's watching. You don't even know what the final goal is. But the logic begins to form. Mistakes trigger observation. Observation creates access. Access leads deeper into the structure. But something is taken from you in this moment. Until now, you could still pretend you were exploring. Now it becomes clear you're participating. And if this is a test, then failing it might have consequences you don't understand yet. While you're studying the diagram on the wall, one of the monitors in the room emits a quiet, static sound. The screen turns on by itself. Text begins appearing. The first line looks familiar, participant active, but the second line is new and much more unsettling. Next phase, initializing. And at the exact moment those words appear, the lights in the corridor outside suddenly go out. The lights in the corridor don't just go out, they shut down one by one. First the lamp right outside the room, then the next one farther down the hall, then another, like something is moving through the corridor, and the lights are reacting to its presence. You stay completely still inside the room. The monitor behind you glows faintly, casting a cold light across the floor. Outside, the hallway is almost completely dark now, except for a single fluorescent lamp still flickering at the far end. And underneath that light, the silhouette is still there, but something about it has changed. It's closer. You didn't see it move. You didn't hear footsteps. The distance just shrank. That confirms something you've been suspecting since the moment you crossed that line earlier. Whatever lives in the yellow levels doesn't move the way you do. Maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe the system moves it. Maybe the system is it. That's the lesson of this level. When you break a rule, the system doesn't just observe. It starts reducing your options. You look around the room again. There are only two ways out. The door you came through, and a narrow side corridor you didn't notice before. But something on the monitor behind you catches your attention. Another line of text has appeared. Observer escalation. That changes the entire dynamic. Until now, it felt like something was simply watching you. Now it feels like the observer is participating. The pressure increases because you suddenly realize the most important detail since you entered the yellow levels. This place isn't trying to stop you from moving forward. It's trying to force you into a specific path. And right now, it seems like the system has decided exactly where you need to go. The final light in the hallway flickers once, then goes dark. The silhouette disappears into the blackness, and in that moment you understand something very clearly. Standing still is no longer an option. The system is closing in. For a few seconds, everything goes completely dark. No buzzing lights, no footstep, no movement. The yellow levels fall back into absolute silence. And silence in this place is never a good sign. You remain frozen inside the small room, trying to see anything beyond the doorway. Slowly, your eyes begin adjusting to the darkness. First shapes, then shadows, and then you realize something that completely changes how you understand the system. The silhouette wasn't coming for you. It was guiding you, leading you here, to this exact room, to this exact moment. You turn back toward the monitor. The screen now shows a single line. Evaluation complete. For a moment, you wonder if that means you passed. Maybe breaking that rule was just the first step. Maybe this was some kind of entrance test. Maybe now there's a way out. But the screen updates again. A new line appears beneath the first. Participant response recorded. Then one final message. Reintegration failed. Before you can even process what that means, the monitor goes dark. At the exact same moment, the lights in the corridor outside turn back on. All at once, the hallway looks exactly the same as before. Yellow walls, stained carpet, fluorescent lights humming overhead. But there's one difference. The door behind you is gone, as if the room never existed. You're standing in an empty corridor of the yellow levels again, and on the floor in front of you, the 3 red arrows have returned, pointing forward, like the system has reset the scenario. Like another participant could walk through this same corridor someday and make the exact same mistake. That's the final lesson the yellow levels offer. Individuals enter, individuals fail, individuals disappear. But the system never stops. It keeps running, observing, recording, waiting for the next participant to cross a line that was never meant to be crossed. Because in the yellow levels, rules aren't there to be followed. They exist to reveal who's willing to break them. And every time someone does, the system learns something new.